Good morning, Leslie with Moxie Coffee Company, and today I have the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Sarah Avery. I met Sarah at the Adirondack Nationals. She had a booth for her Moon Cycle Seed Company and also a couple of other companies that you're involved in. But you also have a practice, physical therapy practice in Saratoga Springs, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, pretty young to be a doctor. You must have known pretty well what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So I guess when like I mentioned before, dance was always something that was in my life. So movement, naturally went along with that. So it was a pretty easy choice that physical therapy was the route that I would take to give people that freedom of movement and that gift of movement.
Do you still dance?
No, but I would love to circle back to that. Now that my businesses are kind of stabilizing, I am finding that I do have a little bit more free time, which is the goal. So I would love to come back to that, just to have that piece that's good for the soul.
Absolutely. Now, I see in your Instagram photos, it looks like you have a studio that would be conducive for that, right?
Yeah. Well,
mirrors and everything.
Yeah, the place that I work is called Saratoga Health and Wellness. So the owners of that building are. I'm so grateful that they let me use the space in there for my PT practice, and also they have a beautiful yoga studio where I do my yoga classes and my one-on-one yoga therapy sessions. So it's been really nice. I'm sure that they would maybe think I was a little weird for twirling around in there, but
Hey,
who cares?
I'm a big fan of let that freak flag fly. So, in a lot of your practice for physical therapy and the yoga is fairly women-centered.
Yeah. And this whole like women's health aspect kind of just found me. So I have a lot of sisters in my life, no brothers. So estrogen itself was always circling me. So, I kind of came, and we can talk a little more about Moon Cycle Seed Company at some point, but I kind of came into this women's health journey my own. So I wanted to find a natural way to balance my hormones and to kind of rid my body of toxins and things that were disruptive to that hormone balance. So I began to share these methods and these ideas with my sisters and my friends, and alongside of that, I was kind of coming into this world of women's health and physical therapy, and treating women postpartum with pelvic floor dysfunction. And then found myself treating women with osteoporosis using weightlifting and yoga.
Now, so I'm a nearly 42-year-old woman who has 3 children. My last child I delivered at the age of 40, which is not okay. It's no joke. But these are conversations that aren't being had. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that at 42 years old, this is the first time in my life that I'm hearing about seed cycling? And you see osteoporosis commercials on television, but the women always look like they're in their 60s and 70s. Their hair is all white, and it's not my age group, so I've never really paid attention to it. And we don't hear about excess hormones in your body and what to do with that. Do you have any insight as to why that might be?
I could talk all day about this, I feel like, but
I know we only have a few minutes. We got like a half hour left. But
and that's kind of where I think my life's work and my role in this lifetime is starting the conversations with women younger. So, coming to puberty, I wish that I knew that I had 4 parts to my cycle. I wish I knew that what I eat now has an effect on my peak bone density at age 30. And then at age 30, it starts to taper down. So it's not just, okay, I'm at this point in my life right now. It's, okay, what can I do throughout my lifespan to help enhance my well-being later on in life. And I completely agree with the commercials, and you're not quite in that age group yet. So when you start thinking about your bone density, well, there's kind of this line where there's a fear instilled in women after they find that, oh, okay, I have decreased bone density. I can't lift heavy because I'm going to fracture something. So
oh, wow. It's that severe.
And it can get to that point. But the other piece to that is that lifting weights and lifting 70% of your body weight is actually the thing that will help rebuild your bone density. So
Interesting.
there's kind of this, okay, you can use weightlifting as a tool to be successful, but you have to do it safely so that you're not promoting compression fractures or loss of balance that can lead to a fracture. So there is kind of this in-between gray area, and I think, you know, from 30 up until 65, we can really do deadlifting, squats, overhead presses, and really load that skeleton in a safe way. So that's kind of where my work is to bring women in to feel safe, to feel supported in a community of like-minded women who are going through the same thing, and be supervised in a safe way.
Oh, let's circle back to the pelvic floor thing as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's again 3 children. I had my first child at 21, my second at 26, and my third at 40. You know, we're talking the big gap there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of life of childbirth and all of that, and pelvic floor exercises and things like that. My OB never talked about it. You know, you have other moms that'll joke and giggle about having to cross their legs when they sneeze, but there's never really a conversation about things that can be done with it. And the only other time that those even words have come about in my life is another friend of mine who teaches yoga, teaches yoga to teachers at this point.
Yeah.
And she's the only one that I've ever really heard about of doing pelvic floor exercises. What do you think can happen so that there is more awareness about this and it's not such a taboo subject?
Yeah.
As well as, you know, I think it's probably surrounded with a lot of shame.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing is getting over this hump of like, this is a shameful, embarrassing thing. It can be embarrassing, and I completely understand, but the more that, if you're going through that, chances are your friend, your peer is going through it too, and they just need that conversation. So first of all, just having those conversations with your friends, with your, and then if you have a daughter, start talking about it when she's younger, so that there isn't this shame around, you know, period health, around my pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor is just as important of a muscle as your bicep is, if not more important. We hold a lot of stress there, so there's this kind of energetic thing happening there too. We hold our breath, and it creates this, you know, when we're under tension, and it creates this cylinder of pressure where, you know, now we get neck pain, now we get pelvic floor pain. It happens more often than women realize. And I think the other thing too is that, you know, OBGYNs kind of, you know, from my experience, they kind of get you to a point of, you know, they get you through your pregnancy, they get you through your delivery. There's also this element of bringing in, you know, and that's my work, this integrated physical therapy. So, you know, I'm not a specialist in this area, so I'm going to send you to this person or this person or this person and create a network of people to support you. So on the other side of that, physical therapists are trained to help with pelvic floor exercise.
Okay.
So generally, you know, we get a basic training, and then there are pelvic floor specialists, so they're a little less, you know, available in the community, which is unfortunate because so many women do need that work. But
Now let's talk about insurance, because you know that's a big key player. Is this are these types of services going to be available to many women? You know, insurance covers it, or is it more of a cash?
Well, it depends. You know, there's, you know, so in my line of work, it is a cash-based model, but you know, there are benefits to that model because you're getting more time with the therapist.
Oh, yeah.
And ideally working within a shorter period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But going into a clinic where, you know, they do accept insurance it's typically a covered thing. And physical therapists now, and I don't think this is pretty well known, that if you're 3 years out of PT school, you can actually see patients without a prescription. So this is called direct access. So what happens then at that point is you come into the PT clinic, you can be seen quicker so that your injury isn't progressing over a period of time while you're waiting to get into the PT, because you had to get a prescription. So you can go directly to the PT. The PT sends their evaluation off to the doctor, and the doctor can send the PT the prescription within that 30 days. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's a nice thing that's very beneficial for patients. So spread that word, because
Oh, yeah,
I don't think too
absolutely.
many people know that.
You know, and that's one of the reasons that I love doing these fearless female things is, you know, I have knowledge in certain areas because that's where my life has brought me and brought knowledge to me.
Yeah.
But there's so many other things out there that, you know, I'd love to be able to spread awareness about. And, you know, we have you coming in and doing the, no, that's not what we called it. What do we call it? We called it the Cycle Wisdom.
Yes.
With Brooke Pinkos, who's been my health coach for the last several months, because I want, you know, I feel like I just stumbled on gold. I've never heard of this stuff before. I've never heard of any of these things. And it was because I had started doing the work with Brooke, and then I saw, you know, the moon cycle, and just the word cycle cued me into wanting to stop and look and see what your product was. And I really want to tell the world, and then, you know, diving into who you are a little bit and seeing all of your different practice and the whole osteoporosis, I was, you know, well, should I be thinking about this now?
Yes.
Oh, turns out I should be. And, you know, I do have 2 daughters. One is almost 16, and we have lots of conversations that I'm sure aren't terribly comfortable for her at the moment. But it is interesting that I'm seeing a trend for younger women in her generation where talking about their cycle isn't quite as taboo as it was for me when I was her age, and possibly even you. I think we've got probably a decade or so between us. But
That was the case though when I was in school. You know.
Oh yeah, shove your tampon up your sleeve.
Yeah.
Don't let the boys see it.
Yeah.
Pretend like it's not happening.
Exactly.
God forbid there was a pool party. Oh my goodness.
All over.
So they seem to be embracing that a little bit more. So I would love to see that, you know, we can get some more information out there for women that, you know, it is important to start thinking about osteoporosis, you know, earlier in life. You don't wait until you're 70 years old and things are breaking and now you need to swallow a bunch of pills that Big Pharma is going to stuff down your throat for whatever they possibly can. Because then, you know, there's 6 more to follow to fix all of the things that's disrupted. You know, and the seed cycling, and can you get into that a little bit? Because, you know, I have already tried your product for the moon cycle, the seed cycling, and I really enjoy it. It's very, very easy to use, especially, you know, I'm extremely busy.
Yeah.
So to just throw, you know, a couple tablespoons of something in something as I'm on the go is super easy. But I haven't had an opportunity to dive into some of your other products. The moon milk.
Yep. I didn't bring those today to show, but we're actually getting new packaging for everything. So
Awesome.
this is like a couple weeks out. So I'm slowly running out of that packaging that I currently have.
I know that game.
I know. Small business owning, but it's all good. We're headed in a good direction. So so we have the pre-ground seed cycle blends, and then I kind of ran into this big question that kept happening at the farmers markets was women who are already at menopause. Do they still need seed cycling? Well, yes, you can still benefit from seed cycling because you still have trace amounts of estrogen and progesterone that play a huge role in your thyroid health, sleep wake cycles, bone health. Blood sugar regulation is huge too. But then the other piece to it is the stress hormone cortisol. So later on in life, we want to try to manage that stress hormone. So adaptogens, which I'm drinking this wonderful new coffee blend.
Oh, Revitalize, my favorite, my new favorite.
It's so good. So it has ashwagandha, cinnamon, and
White pine,
and it's delicious. I feel like the adaptogens are already kind of calming me down. Yes, it's this nice balance of energy and calming, but I love adaptogens. So moon milks have maca, reishi, and ashwagandha. So maca in particular is great for postmenopausal women. And then the reishi mushroom and the ashwagandha help to naturally reduce that excess stress hormone cortisol, which when that's in excess,
it's a thing I've been talking about a lot lately.
Yeah. So you're kind of right on the same train there. So so I have 3 flavors. All 3 flavors have all 3 of those adaptogenic herbs. Saying that fast does not work ever. And then the flavors are golden turmeric, cherry beetroot, and lavender cardamom, which also have their own health benefits, of course.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to trying those. I think we're gonna break some of those out maybe for our event on the
nice.
6th.
Yes,
Yeah, that'll
We'll
be
be
great.
here.
Yeah, and I think, some of the information that you have going along with those about, certain hormones being present at certain times and that our body can't really absorb and work with them. Again, it's more conversation that just needs to be had more often because, perimenopause, menopause, we don't talk about it. I'm getting close to, at some point in the relatively near future, I need to be educated on perimenopause and menopause because it's got to be more than, hot flashes. What does the general public know about menopause? Women get crazy and they have hot flashes.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it, and there's got to be ways to manage it without, having to turn to big pharma. So I appreciate that you are bringing some of these things to light, and I think it's fantastic. You seem to be doing a really great thing. You have your physical therapy practice, and you have the Moon Cycle Seed Company, and then you're involved a little bit with some of the things that you do collectively with your husband.
Yeah, so he started this entrepreneur journey. I'm so proud of him. He was a stonemason for 13 years and kind of just woke up one day and was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, and totally 180'd and started growing microgreens actually. So that's kind of how we got into the farmer's market. So we were getting up early on Saturday mornings and like harvesting these beautiful little microgreens, and we slowly started to realize that wasn't sustainable for, long term. So then we kind of shifted gears and started brewing kombucha for ourselves. And then, we were kind of getting good at it. So he started Genbucha, which is, so Gen kombucha is brewed with honey and green tea instead of regular kombucha that's brewed with black tea and sugar. So it's a little lighter, a little less vinegary tasting, and all of the flavors we use all organic juices and cold pressed, and they're pretty yummy in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I actually have a bottle to send back with you.
Oh good. Yes, so we do returnable bottles, try to keep it eco-friendly for Mother Earth, and also we do he does CBD oil, so we partner with a organic hemp farm to get that crude oil, and right in New York State, and formulate everything, tinctures, salves, other topicals, and we also do pet CBD, which
I need to look into for my crazy dogs.
We found that it's surprising how many people will get something like that for their pet more than themselves. So it just kind of goes to show you.
Well, so it is also for me, because if I can stop my dog from that nervous, she's a livestock guardian dog. So at night when it gets dark, she'll be laying there, and then all of a sudden she sounds the alarms, and I'm sure she hears something. We've had a lot of coyotes around lately, and that's fantastic. But that constant that alarm, it makes me jump. So if I can calm her down, then maybe I can calm me down.
Yes.
So
I hear that.
I think she's fine, but I really need it for her. So tell me, there had to have been some hurdles along the way. What were some of the things that you found to be challenging for this? Because, I know as a small business owner, sometimes just packaging can be ridiculously difficult to do. I've been in a couple of situations where my packaging wasn't even just coming to me on time, and I'm like, I don't have any place to put this product that people want.
Yeah.
So there has to have been.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely a few hurdles that we overcame, and there were a couple moments where I had to look at what I was doing and say, is this for me? And then I quickly got that out of my mind and said, oh yeah, hell yeah, this is definitely for me, keep going. And the typical packaging issues are a thing. So at one point I had, 3 different stickers on my eco-friendly container, where I'm like, well, that's already counterintuitive because we're trying to be eco-friendly, but there's this label on there that may not be recycled properly. So that's why we're getting everything screen printed right on, so we're not worried about, I don't have that one sticker that's not on there. So that's definitely a thing. And then I think probably the most challenging thing for us in general was shifting from the mindset of, working solely for being independent having that financial freedom, and more importantly, that freedom with your time and putting that value on your time.
Yeah.
So the irony is that I had to go into this state where, I was putting in 60 to 70 hours a week working at my outpatient clinic, starting to, do the paperwork for the PLLC for my PT practice alongside of building Mooncycle, Jambucha, Earth to Mind. It was definitely a test of my willpower, and also, the strength of my marriage, and having that support on both ends, which, I kind of look back, I'm like, if we got through that, I'm pretty sure we can get through anything, and it's still evolving and moving forward, but.
We had a similar summer with all the events and everything. It's like summer ended and we're both sitting there going, wait, who are you? Who am I? What are we doing? What do we value?
That's the thing, is checking in, what, and I had to write those down, even if I wasn't referencing all the time. I had to keep my focus on that, and I did value my time the most. That's the most valuable thing, because within that time, that free time, you're able to cultivate healthier relationships with yourself.
Yes, first and foremost.
Yeah. So, that really was the hardest thing. And there's always little blips of hurdles that we run into that you get through it.
And you have an Airbnb.
Yeah. That's actually coming to be like the most, we're like, oh, this thing is going to work out the most. And then we're like, oh, this actually works out great. Yeah. So we've kind of been putting a little more energy into that right now. But so Moxie Coffee Company has been funding our coffee supply for the Airbnbs, and people are loving it.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. It's very nice to hear. It's great to get the feedback, and I love doing this, but it's not going to work out if people don't actually like the coffee.
It's good coffee.
Well, thank you. And didn't you have, that was your home?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. So the way that our house is built is we're kind of in like a hill. So we were renting out the bottom floor. And then during a track season in Saratoga, if you don't know, it's quite the season for tourism.
Chaos. It's chaos.
Everybody's But we said, why don't we just temporarily rent out both? And so it worked out pretty well, and we're kind of moving in that direction of looking into like other properties potentially, and
nice.
Just kind of following what's working out.
Yeah, you definitely have to do that. Not everything's going to work out. I often look at, for me, a challenge is trying to market both Moxie Coffee, the Ambition line, which has one visual and one message, versus the Botanical line, which has kind of an opposite visual and message, and running them alongside. And it's, how long can I do this? At what point do they have to kind of take on their own life? But everything that we do evolves.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And what you have too can go in so many different directions too. Yeah.
Do you see a time where you might have to either hand something over to somebody else to manage, or you walk away from one aspect or another?
I hope not. We kind of, I can work my own schedule as a PT. That was the whole thing, is like, I was, you're seeing up to 20 people in a day in an outpatient clinic with the insurance model, and then you're doing all the paperwork, either during the session or outside of the work day. So my whole thing is seeing maybe 10 to 15 people a week.
Oh, okay.
So I'm able to kind of lump it into days. This is my PT day.
Yep.
This is my Mooncycle day, and then we have the markets on the weekend, which we have wonderful help. People are amazing that help us out at the markets, so that's really nice. And
if you find yourself having an abundance of that, send one my way.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's the nice thing about this community, is that people are, once you get into being used to working at a market or an event, then it's kind of fun for those people to work at other booths too, just to get a different experience.
Yeah, I really like the events, and that's one
Yeah.
of the areas that I struggle is I love the events so much, but I only have so much time,
Exactly.
so I just, for me to
I feel you
balance
there.
both, it's like,
Yep,
whew.
yep, yeah.
So with your PT, are you mainly focused on the osteoporosis?
No, that's kind of more of my passion, yoga, osteoporosis, and like the women's health, and I love treating dancers.
Okay.
Of course, it kind of came full circle. That's that's not what I go for, but it's what comes to me.
Because I know you had applied for the grant for the foundation, and it was very solidly based on, was that a new program that you were trying to start?
Yeah, so the osteoporosis program started when I was working at the outpatient clinic. So a couple of colleagues and myself, I kind of initiated it, and then they were helping out with the programming and helped to get it off the ground. And then I took my own path and continued with it with Michaela Martin. She's a wonderful yoga instructor and has become a very dear friend of mine. Her Instagram is Movement with Michaela, and she is just brilliant and puts in so much work with, she's a learner, and she puts that information back out to people for free on her page too. So
oh, nice.
But yeah, so what we were kind of running into is because they are small groups, so we do a lot of one-on-one instruction, groups of 4 people. We kind of have to put a premium cost on it because it's really structured. It's very specific and specialized, and then gradually as the group starts to gain a better understanding of their body mechanics and safety with the weightlifting, then we can kind of make it more of like a gym membership cost. But up front, that cost includes the weight vest, which are also a pretty penny. So
I'm sure.
Yeah, so it's my goal. If I could get a weight vest in every woman's home, I would.
Well, you are going to get that $1,000 grant.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, the board.
Thank you.
You are welcome. It was a board decision. We voted on it quite a while ago. I was just trying to chase you down.
Thank you.
And I'm very happy to be able to send you home with that today.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, I know a lot of women are going to be very happy about that.
So fantastic.
Awesome.
That's
Thank
what
you.
we're trying to do
Thank
is
you.
impact as many women's lives as we possibly can with this.
And thank you for all the work that you and your team are doing to make that possible.
Yeah, the foundation is building and growing, and I'm really, really excited. I love being able to issue the grants. I love being able to see, what we can kind of do to, really pull the community together and see how we can give back and make things happen.
Yeah.
So we have so far, we gave $1,000 to Maggie Harding, who purchased a pneumatic engraver. We gave $1,000 to Shauna Merritt. She purchased a vibratory tumbler. You're going to do your weight vests.
Awesome.
We're currently accepting applications for our Q4 grant, which is athletes and competitors. So maybe you can help spread some awareness about that. As I imagine you probably are in contact. Dancing is a competition.
They're athletes.
So there's a lot of that, but it's really fantastic, and bringing forward some of the workshops that we're doing. We're going to do the workshop with you and Brooke, so we can bring some more information about women's health and our cycle and how to work with it. We're doing one for sexual harassment in the service industry, and what's the other one? There's one more. I'm not thinking of what it is. I blanked. But yeah, so the foundation's been really fantastic, and I'm happy to watch it grow and see.
You're doing a wonderful thing. Really, thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to send you home with that.
I appreciate that more than you know.
Oh, good. So what else? Who are some of the people that influence you and really motivate you? What motivates you the most?
I think women like yourself who are, anybody who is not looking, and that's where I immediately connected with you, was your stance on taking up competition between women.
Yeah.
It's already hard enough. I'm a little emotional right now, so I'm sorry.
I love it. It's okay.
But
we're,
yeah,
we're
thank
good
you.
in our
Thank you.
emotions.
Yeah, taking out that competition, because life is already really hard as
Yeah.
women, and we need to come together and support each other. And
Lift as we rise.
yeah,
It's my new one.
It's a good one. You always have good little catchy lines that I'm like, yeah, you need to write a book.
Ah, God, yeah. Well, it's funny because I've had a couple of people say that I need to be on the other end of this interview.
Yeah, you do.
And like I said with the writing, it's one of those things that's very difficult. It's extremely difficult to put yourself out there and,
Yeah.
and tell your story and you know. So
Yeah.
maybe one day.
Yeah.
Until then, I'm going to continue to get as many women a spotlight as I possibly can. The purpose of doing these interviews, if you haven't heard me say it or read it somewhere before, is I like to shine a spotlight on amazing women that are doing things that are just a little bit more, a little bit extra, taking the extra step, putting in the extra time, digging in deep, and the goal is to just inspire one other person. If your story can just make one other person think, I can do this, or, you know, I'm gonna get out of bed today and try a little harder, then that's the whole purpose of doing these. And also to spread awareness of just anything, you know, in your particular case. Today, we're telling women that they need to be worried about, not worried, but they need to start thinking about and having the conversation of osteoporosis before they hit their 30s and seeing what they can do. And, you know, there are ways to work within your cycle to harness the power of what happens instead of constantly battling against it and feeling shame surrounding it. So,
Absolutely.
thank you very much for coming in and speaking with us today. And I can't wait to see what else is to come.
Same.